Good morning then, and welcome to today's webinar with Vertical Leap and Trustpilot. Thank you everybody who's online and watching. It's going to be a good webinar, 15-20 minutes long. We've done a few of these webinars with some of you that are on already today, and the feedback we generally get is that they're great webinars and you get some use and value from them, so hopefully you'll get the same today. My name's Chris, I'm Head of Marketing at Vertical Leap. Quite often I'm the one that's doing the presenting on these because I love the attention, but actually today I'm going to not do that. I'm going to just do a little bit of an intro for you and hand over to our experts from Vertical Leap and Trustpilot. So the agenda is, number one, what are micro moments? And this is largely a theme that's taken from our work with Google. So we've borrowed from Google here. Some of you have been with us to Google. We took a lot of you last year to Google to meet our Google team up there and talk about things like micro moments in online. So this is what are micro moments, how to make micro moments useful, swimming pigs, which you're going to love. I loved it. Trustpilot, some case studies from Trustpilot, and then a Q&A at the end. So your speakers today then are Neil Bayton from Trustpilot. He's the partnership director at Trustpilot. Look forward to that. And then with the obligatory digital marketing beard there is Henry Carless. He's one of our PPC specialists at Vertical Leap. I don't think specialist is grand enough a word for it. He's our data scientist, if you like. He can make spreadsheets and machine learning do things that I didn't think was possible. So other quick bits before we get on to the actual webinar. So we're at Travel Technology Europe next week on the 22nd and 23rd of February. We're both there. We're both upstairs. It's at the Olympia. So Trustpilot on stand 2308. We're on T56. Come over and see us. Come and say hi. Come and talk to us about today's webinar. Whatever, we can always grab a coffee if you've got any questions. And also, so the purpose of today's webinar is very much to talk about micro moments, but they are leading up to something bigger, and that's that we are holding a series of events this year with Trustpilot and others. We've got Google involved, we've got Bing involved, and anybody else that we feel we can bring in that will give value to you travel industry marketers. So this is the first in a series of events for 2017. The next event is in April, and it's a seminar at Northumberland Avenue in London, obviously on Northumberland Avenue. Tickets, spaces are limited. We did a similar event last year and we were very much oversubscribed. So we will be sharing the link with you to this event so you can sign up. And it's going to be on increasing conversions in the travel sector. So today we're talking about micro moments leading up to and including a conversion, but really the seminar in April on the 26th is focused entirely on, once you've got people to that point that they're ready to book, how do you maximize bookings? So we're going to be talking about that. So that's enough from me. I'm going to hand over to Henry. Over to you.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. So today we're going to look at micro moments and how we can use those to optimize our PPC campaigns to drive users who visited your site through to making a sale. So first off, as digital marketers, we tend to judge the performance of our site by the macro conversions, so the sale, or in this case for the travel industry, perhaps a booking. The trouble with that is that from visit to sale, it's not a clear-cut kind of conversion rate. Users take a lot of actions as they browse the site. They view a lot of pages. They do a lot of stuff on site, and we can really learn a lot about those actions they take and the pages that they view, and use that business intelligence to optimize our PPC campaigns and our wider marketing efforts. So when we try to understand what that journey actually looks like, a lot of you may be familiar with this screen. We often look at the behavior flow of the user's journeys through the website. This shows you all the different pages they visited and the paths they take and where they dropped off. Now, the problem with this is looking at every single step that they took, looking at every page they visited, can be a really overcomplicated way of analysing those users and understanding more about them. It's great for understanding things like pages where people drop off on the site, but it's not that actionable what you learn from here in terms of your PPC campaigns. So rather than look at the pages that people have viewed, I like to actually look at the actions taken, and what do we mean by that? So we call these micro moments. These are points on the website where people actually take an action. That could be reading a blog post, viewing an offer, it could be emailing, for example, emailing a hotel details page to a friend, or checking availability for a flight. And this can kind of tell us a lot about what stage of the buying cycle those users are in. So tracking these and using that business intelligence to optimize our campaigns is a really great tactic for improving your search and remarketing campaigns. So the problem with this is that if we just took one of these actions, we wouldn't learn as much from it, because users take very different paths through the site. They visit different pages, complete different actions, and I would say no one user generally takes the same journey through your site from visit to sale. So we have to look at grouping these so that collectively we can gain some insights on them. So the way I like to do this is I like to be guided by the sales funnel. Now this is going to look very different for every different business. This is just one example that I've taken here. So we're going to look at people in the buying cycle in each stage. So we're going to start from the inspiration stage. That's people who want to go on holiday, but they're not really sure where they want to go. They're not looking at specific hotels at this point. They're just kind of getting an idea of the locations that they want to go to. Then you've got the consideration stage, and this is really people who are actually planning their holiday. They're deciding on the specific cities or hotels that they want to visit, things like that, perhaps checking flights and things like that. You've then got the ready to book stage. Now these are the guys who have got their kind of plan in order, and they're just really trying to find the best deal and work out the finer details before they go ahead and book. And finally, those people who have booked. So we're going to take these stages of the funnel, and we're going to take all of our micro moments. Similar to the funnel, these are going to be very different depending on your business. And you're going to have to work on identifying all of those actions, all those micro moments on your own website. So we're going to take those stages of the funnel and we're going to split them into audience segments. So what I mean by that is actual remarketing audience segments in Google Analytics. So remarketing lists there. So we're going to divide these out to each different audience segment, and what you'll find here is that you'll often spot some kind of gaps in here where you perhaps don't have any micro moments that apply to one of these audience segments, and you're going to want to add those in there. And the more kind of actions people can take which can help you identify a person as part of that audience, the better. So don't just identify the pre-existing micro moments on your site. Think about ones you can add and get those added. So one thing we're going to do here, once we've got those ordered and grouped into audience segments, is we're going to track them in Google Analytics. So you're going to want to use event tracking, remarketing list tracking through destination URLs, for example. Build remarketing lists for those people for each section of the buying cycle, and then we're going to look at how we can use those to target people online and improve your current marketing efforts in PPC. So our goal here is to move people from left to right, through from that initial stage of inspiration, which can come a long time before a sale, and move them step by step through the process until they're at a sale. So for the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to assume that you have a search campaign that probably through Google AdWords that's targeting the people in the consideration and the ready to book stage. So that's people searching for specific hotels, for holiday deals, perhaps for pricing, specific keywords. And we're going to also assume that you're going to run a remarketing campaign, run some activity there, remarketing to those people who've visited the site. So the best way to understand this process is to actually use a real life example. So I'm going to look back at the journey I took through a recent holiday booking that I made. And for the purpose of this, we're going to just assume that you're a marketing manager for a travel agent promoting several hotels in the Caribbean. So my journey actually started over a month before I booked, when I saw a post shared by a friend on Facebook, which led me to click through and visit a blog on a travel website. And those of you who saw the agenda earlier may have an idea of what's coming up. That's right, it was a blog about swimming pigs. Now these adorable little guys hang out on their own little island in the Bahamas. No one's really quite sure how they got there. Perhaps dropped off by traders over 100 years ago, they think. But either way, these guys populate the beach and they swim in the sea because they've got no mud to roll around in to keep cool. So I saw this and I thought, I've got to go there at some point in my life. I saw a review on that said that kids of all ages love this stop, so I figured I must be a 27-year-old kid because I've definitely got to go there. So we're going to assume here that that blog was on your travel website, because obviously you've got a thorough content marketing plan which promotes shareable content and gets people onto your site at that early inspiration stage. And because I read that blog post, I've been added to your inspiration remarketing audience. So how do you use that? How do you use that remarketing audience? How do you target me using that intelligence that I'm perhaps in the inspiration stage, having visited your blog post? Well, firstly, with remarketing, you're going to want to use quite generic remarketing messaging here. So you're not going to want to promote a specific hotel. You've got to keep it quite general and just make sure that at this stage it's more about brand awareness. It's about getting your brand in front of my eyes as I'm browsing the net, and just kind of tempting me to keep thinking about booking that holiday and keep thinking about going back to your site. On your search campaigns, we're going to use a feature in Google AdWords called Remarketing Lists for Search Ads. This is also available in Bing Ads. And what this allows us to do is actually increase the bids for our search keywords, for our search campaigns, if the person searching is in that audience list. So at this stage, we're going to say, if you're in that inspiration audience, we're going to raise your bid by 10%. So fast forward a couple of weeks and it's my brother's 40th birthday coming up, and we're thinking about things to do, and I remember this blog post and I've been kind of reminded about it by those remarketing ads as well, promoting general kind of holidays in the Caribbean. So I run a search, and because you're bidding extra for me, because I'm in that audience, your ad shows up nice and high, and this brings me back to the website. So when I get back to the site, I look at I'm in the consideration stage here. So I start looking at specific hotels, start viewing specific offers. I'm looking through the photos of different hotel rooms and things like that. And I actually use an email to a friend function to send the holiday details or the hotel details to my brother to take a look at. Now this email to a friend micro moment is a really great one for capturing email addresses. Especially make sure that you request both the sender and the recipient's email addresses there. And if you state there that you're going to be using those email addresses for perhaps subscribing to a newsletter at the same time and give people an option to opt out, that can really help you build those email lists which you can use in your email marketing and with things like customer match for remarketing as well. Another point where you want to gather email addresses is with the, for example, the Download a City Guide micro moment. If you're allowing people to download brochures or anything like that, you want to gate that content, which means you want to request an email address at the least in order for them to get that download, perhaps that PDF download or similar. So I'm now in your consideration audience because I've emailed the property to a friend and I've viewed some of the photos on specific deals there. So with your remarketing, you want to change your messaging at this point. You want to be a lot more specific. Now, it's important to note here that, for example, if your travel website offered hotels that are on perhaps different islands in the Caribbean, you might want to actually segment that consideration remarketing list further and have one for each kind of sub-location, one for each island. So you're going to want to use more specific remarketing messaging there, perhaps promoting the city that I'm looking to visit or similar, rather than just the general area. And another way that you're going to want to use remarketing here is you're going to want to use a feature called dynamic remarketing. And what this does is you put a bit of code on your site and you have a feed of all of the properties or the hotels or the flights that you offer. And what happens is Google will then dynamically change the content of your remarketing ads to promote the specific products or the specific hotels that you've recently viewed. And this can be a really great way of getting people back onto your site who are in that consideration or even the ready to book stage and get them converting. Much like before, we're going to want to put a further, for example, 10% bid adjustment on anybody who's in that consideration audience. And it's worth mentioning as well that these actually stack these remarketing RLSA bid adjustments. So it won't just be the 10% you're bidding; it will be multiplied by the further 10% from being in the previous list as well. So that really helps just make sure that you're getting those returning customers back via search if they're shopping around, because they're much more likely to book when they visit your site for the second, third, or fourth time. I then see a dynamic remarketing ad when I'm procrastinating, looking at the football results on the display network, on browsing the net, and it brings me back to your site. And at this point, I actually have a couple of questions about the hotel that I'd looked at earlier. For example, what's the access like to the beach? How far to the nearest shops, for example? So I put an inquiry through, and that adds me to the ready to book audience segment. One thing that I also did when I was looking is I shortlisted a couple of the hotels, so that I could kind of have a list where I could go back and easily view those. That's otherwise known as a favorites list, and it's something that Airbnb does very well. You just click a little heart icon in order to add a property or a Airbnb to your list to go back and view later, and you can also share those with other people. Now again, you want to make sure that people are logging in or registering for an account on your site in order to do this, so that you can collect their details and remarket to them and market to them via email marketing and things like that as well. So at this stage, you're going to want to still be using that kind of specific and dynamic remarketing messaging, but you're going to want to add some more messaging in there around, for example, time critical messaging around time critical offers. So that could be things as simple as using the word book now rather than the words book online, and making it more about making a booking than it is about viewing the offers. Another thing you're going to want to do there is you're going to want to build trust, because at this stage it's likely that I've really got the finer details of my holiday kind of dialed down, and I'm really looking for who I'm going to purchase that through, and who has kind of not just the best prices but the best customer service on there. So including things like review stars in your remarketing ad is really going to help encourage me to get back and make that booking. And like before with our remarketing list for search ads, you're going to want to bid very aggressively at this point. If people are shortlisting products on your site, they're inquiring, perhaps they're reading the specific reviews for each hotel or printing out the details, then they're likely to book. And at this stage, you really need to make sure that every time they search, your ad really appears right up at the top of the page. Another thing I like to do at this stage is use my RLSA audience, so my remarketing audience, with RLSA, so remarketing list for search ads, and a really clever feature called Target and Bid. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to build a campaign in Google AdWords targeting people searching on Google for very generic keywords, but limit them to only appear to people who have recently been on the site. So in this example, we might target the keyword weather. So anybody who's in that ready to book audience segment is now going to, if they search for anything to do with the weather, whether that's checking the weather at home or checking the weather in the location they're looking at visiting, that you're going to show them an ad. That if people are searching to check if it's going to be sunny tomorrow because it's been raining for a week like it has here in the UK, you're going to want to show them an ad for that sunny holiday that they've been looking at. So I actually saw a remarketing ad, went back to the site and ended up making a booking here. So I'm pleased to say that at that point I am going to go and swim with the swimming pigs in a couple of months, but that doesn't mean that you can just kind of add me as a number to your list of sales for the month and forget about me. The next thing you want to do there is move me on from that kind of having booked audience segment to becoming a loyal customer and a brand advocate. And the way that you're going to do that is you're going to look at gathering reviews from me. So up next to discuss how you go about gathering those reviews and how you can use those reviews to your advantage to help your other marketing efforts is Neil from Trustpilot.
Thanks, Erin. That was really interesting. That actually relates back to my last holiday. So I was reading a blog post about someone turning 40 and they decided to take up triathlons, or it was either triathlons or buy a sports car. So I couldn't afford a sports car. So this guy was telling it's all about how he took up triathlons. So I read that. Then I went on to a forum about triathlons to decide whether I could actually do one. And then I soon got targeted about a triathlon event that was just 100 meters down the road from where I work. So I went to that. There was a few travel agents there, and then looked at their reviews and then booked it with about 6 weeks to go. So that sort of brings us nicely to reviews and the part that reviews play in people's buying decisions. So we have proof that reviews are a very valuable tool in the journey where trust and confidence is important. And with high value purchases, such as maybe a holiday, and risk is at its highest, you can mitigate risk by displaying trust. And reviews are a fantastic way of displaying trust and becoming trustworthy. So the more risk involved in a transaction, the more trust is needed. And I've always said this, and I'm sure I didn't coin this phrase, but you don't actually buy anything online. All you're doing is actually buying a promise. And when there's a promise involved, then obviously trust is very important. With travel websites, abandonment rates at an all-time high of 81.6%, which is just below utilities, as second in the cart abandonment rate. It's more and more important to actually display that confidence and trust in those areas where you've got people dropping out. We're all used to reviews, reading reviews, writing reviews. You know, it's come from the days of the Amazon and eBays of this world, and we all now take validation from third-party reviews. So reviews offer a social proof to prospects. People have been on that journey before, and displaying, you know, how they found that journey, and people just find these reviews, get their confidence that they're working with the right company. And when it comes to aiding a purchasing decision, reviews are top, unsurprisingly. At 30% of people see reviews as the number one decision to purchase, followed by social at 17%. So reviews are now part of every business, and that's whether it's the old-fashioned way that we used to just talk and tell people that that's a great bakery to go to, or that's a great cycle shop, or please avoid that one, the old-fashioned face-to-face way, or more recently with the TripAdvisors, the Yelps, and a review platform such as Trustpilot. Now, there's a couple of ways of people receiving reviews. You've got the invited way. So if you were inviting your customers to leave a review, you typically get a better, more rounded response because you're making it very easy for them to leave you a review by an invitation where they click on a link. or the reactive way where people find platforms such as Trustpilot to come and leave you a review. Now, typically, you only find customers or consumers that have had a negative experience. Well, all right, I changed that. People that are motivated to come and find a Trustpilot to leave you a review. They tend to be motivated by a negative experience. They have that pain. They want to release that pain and potentially, get your attention. So they do that on a public platform such as Trustpilot. So typically, if you don't actually invite customers and ask them for a review, you'll see that the reviews on platforms such as Trustpilot may be more negative or not a fully rounded opinion of your actual service that you offer. So actually inviting is a very good way to get a more rounded view of your customer service. So we work in a couple of areas, so 3 main areas really. So we help drive more traffic in the search engine results pages such as Google AdWords. We're a Google agreement holder. This means we feed into Google seller ratings. So these are the stars that you see in some of the ads. So you'll see some ads that with stars and some ads without stars. Trustpilot is one of those Google agreement holders that we can feed and aggregate our reviews into those Google AdWords. This makes the ad bigger, so more real estate, which we're all looking for. It's a visual buying signal. It stands out more, and Google have their stats suggest that 17% more people click on ads with stars in than without. And we also feed into Google Shopping and product listing ads as well. Probably not so relevant for the travel market. We also help with placing review content on your digital assets. Now they do a number of things. They might help to convert a phone call, a call to action like filling out a form, or what we all like is more things in the basket, please. So the trust and the confidence that you get from the review content will help convert those customers into those next steps. And whether that's a micro moment that Henry was talking about, or actually the macro moment of actually pushing something into the basket. And we also help with helping you understand your customers a little more. It's a great way to segment your customers to people that are advocates of your business, and maybe you have a marketing campaign based upon those, or the ones that may be indifferent. You might want to have a different message out to these guys. But the actual sentiment that you get from your customers is a great way to understand what you're doing well, and we can work off that. And it's great to know where you're going well, but also it's great to know where maybe you can improve as well. So them areas that might need improvement, it might be a customer service issue, it might be a website issue, or whatever that might be. Fantastic insights you get from reviews, and also not forgetting the real-time feedback you're getting from your customers and the ability to potentially rescue those customers to make them advocates of your business. Just showing here a couple of examples of where Trustpilot really make a difference. So on the one on the left is that's actually a paid ad for Trivago. And you can see that the stars there just below the actual the domain name, and that's Trustpilot feeding into the Google seller ratings. So again, it stands out. It's a larger ad because of that, and as I said, more people click on that. One sort of another upside for Google seller ratings is the fact that you get more click-through rate will actually improve the quality score of the ad. So if you've got a couple of search terms and you're finding the quality score is quite low, Trustpilot and Google seller ratings can help improve the quality score, which will reduce the cost per click that you pay on your ad. So it can make your paid search more efficient. And then people use us, so Flight Centre on the right hand side, people are using us for retargeting and display ads, where they feel that trust is a very important part of the buying process. There's also different ways, as I talked about earlier, different ways to actually display the review content. So you can have these on your website, you can have them on your social channels. The one in the middle is just a particularly good one that they decided they wanted to tweet that out. So if you find a really good review and that's waxing lyrical about the service or the consumer, the products that your consumers are consuming, for want of a better word, it gives you the ability to actually tweet these out, Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn, all that sort of thing. And you can also use our content and your Trustpilot score in your email as well. So this one's just I think this is just a marketing email, but you can also do it in retargeting, which brings me on nicely. eBookers started displaying their Trustpilot reviews and their scores in some of their retargeting emails, and they had a significant effect on the results of those particular retargeting emails. Just a couple of stats. They had an increase in conversions per send from 1% to 1.8%, and they had an increase in conversions per click from 13.64% to 16.67%. So they had a massive increase in the metrics on their retargeting email, which obviously had an effect on their conversions and their bottom line. This is a case study from Isololly, so feel free to find this on our website at trustpilot.co.uk, and it talks about how they have improved their ranking in the search engine results page due to the SEO benefits that review brings. So reviews are user-generated content, and Trustpilot like user-generated content. We have lots of traffic. Google like user-generated content; they like traffic, and the reviews on site have an effect on the SEO of that particular page. And the one thing that comes out of the case study for Isololly was the fact that it improved their search engine results page ranking.
Fantastic, that was excellent. Thank you, Neil, and thank you, Henry. What a great webinar. So just to summarise, we were talking about micro moments. So number one, use micro moments to move users towards a sale. Number two, group those micro moments together to build and segment the audiences. Then target your audiences with a variety of PPC and adjust the bids based on whereabouts in that journey they are. You know, if they've already given some kind of sentiment towards buying, then bid a bit more for them over somebody that hasn't given the sentiment. Trustpilot obviously are saying they're to gather reviews after the booking. Definitely great advice, and use those reviews then to build trust and encourage further sales. So it's kind of a self-perpetuating thing. So fantastic. Hopefully you got value from that today. Just quickly to talk about what we talked about at the beginning. This is one in many events for the rest of the year that we're doing with Trustpilot and Google, and we'll probably have Bing later on in the year as well. So on your screen at the moment you can see our an advert there for our travel seminar in April on the 26th at Northumberland Avenue. You will be getting emails and some invites probably in the post and what have you. It'd be great to see that spaces are limited, so please do apply, and then we'll be getting back to everybody. Otherwise, thanks very much. We hope you had some value today, and we'll see you soon.